Leopards and cougars have a lot alike. They're both smaller size cats, well, medium sized. They're about the size of a golden retriever, just like Jameson. And the leopards over in Asia and Africa tend to be more solitary, similar to a cougar, hunting on their own, living on their own, only coming together during the mating season. Now, a lot of people have heard of the black panther, and a lot of people think that we have black panthers here in the state of Florida. I hate to say it, we don't. What most people see out in the wilds of Africa and Asia and sometimes South America are what we call melanistic cats. And melanism is similar to leucism or albinism, but it's just a slight modification in the genetics of the cat that changes the color, changes the pigment of their coat, and sometimes it's not entirely. Like if you were to look at Midnight behind me and you look at her shoulders, you would actually still see some spots, that natural leopard coloring. Jaguars are also known to have melanism, mainly the cats with spots. Cougars, not so much. Cougars have that nice brown color that helps them blend in with the natural terrains we have here in North America, but also where they live in South America. So Simba, as you and I both know, we take care of cats of many colors. We've got orange cats, we've got white cats, we've got brown cats, and we've got black cats. Now help me break down the difference between the leopard, a similar sized cat, to the North American cougar.
Great question. So the first thing that we talk about are some of the similarities. We're still talking about a feline species. They both have the retractable claws. They both are going to have your swivel ears and these fantastic teeth that she's actually showing us. The other thing that's very similar is that the cougars and the leopards are great leapers, and their body conformation is actually very similar to that. So if you watch Midnight walking around, you'll actually see that her hind end looks like it's a little bit taller than her front end. That's going to be the sign of a leaping animal because they've got so much power in those back legs to be able to jump. That makes leopards athletic, makes cougars athletic. Where your differences are going to be a little more subtle and anatomical. So whereas cougars cannot roar, the leopards actually can. And that all has to do with the anatomical structure of the bones that are in the larynx. Leopards and cougars tend to be pretty solitary. They both tend to be very successful, but they're not found in overlapping territories. The leopard is the cougar of the Asian and African continent, whereas the old world, and the cougar is kind of the leopard of the North American and the South American and Central American continent.
Yeah. One's like the cat of the East, the other is the cat of the West. So Simba, how can Americans take what the folks over in the leopard's native ranges, over in India, for example, what can we take away from there about coexistence? So as we start to bring the panther population hopefully back, how can we learn to coexist with cats and see them as not our enemies?
So this is a really important question because we face the exact same issue that they face in India here. And that is that we have our societies that we're building up with everything that comes with that, and that has to at some point interface with the wild territories. So when it comes to either India or it comes to Florida, there has to be a way for us to create adequate buffers that will allow us to interact with these species and coexist with these species safely. One of the biggest challenges, doesn't matter where you are in the world when it comes to conservation, is what is that number? That at some point there has to be a balance. And it's important to recognize that although this is of great interest to people who love the species and love to watch them and to find out how they're doing in the wild, there are very practical and real challenges that are faced by people who are ranchers, who make their lives off the land, who livestock is currency. And that becomes really important to recognize that there has to be a way that we can balance the needs of those groups with the needs of the wild species. Because they are going to be existing outside of that, that's where there are these special programs that are often in place for replacements. If, for example, a wild predator were to take a calf, calf predation is a big problem, particularly for the Florida panthers.